Welcome to the Republic Business Leadership Conclave, viewers. And we have a very special guest joining us here. Virtually, we have Professor Abhay Vinayak Purohit joining us. He is the president of the Council of Architecture. It's an honor to have you, sir, here on Republic TV's Leadership Summit. And this session topic, viewers, is the architects of modern Bharat. So I'll start straight away asking you, Professor Purohit, how can India architectural education become more globally competitive?
That's a very nice question. Recently, we have about 400 schools of architecture in India, and basically, Council of Architecture controls its education in terms of the syllabus and other things, and we keep on actually updating the entire system through lots of workshops, seminars, and the things. And we are also in a tie-up with the foreign sort of the education systems. We are keenly observing that, and our standard is fairly good. But at the same point of time, there are the challenges which are there. They are in terms of basically the technology inputs which are going to come, and the modern world which is going to look at the sustainability in a different fashion altogether. That's another issue which will be happening around. So we are absolutely gearing it up. The institutions are trying to cope up with the changes and the aspirations which the nation has. So we are trying to club all these things together.
And also, sir, while being globally competitive also, how do you think that, one can balance the modern technology with something that is traditional, balancing the modern with the traditional, and also something that is very importantly climate friendly?
Yeah, see, primarily what is happening is that we have seen the changes happening around, and we know that there was this computer revolution which came, and then we were talking about the IT revolution, and now we are talking about the artificial intelligence as it is happening around, and this naturally is going to change the entire system in a very, very different fashion. On one side, technology is one part which needs to be seen. On the other part of it, as such, we are talking about also we have to become much more responsible in terms of addressing the concerns which are related to the climate change, which are related to the sustainability. And on the third side of it, as such, we have to look at, because India has a very, very rich architectural heritage. So we are one of the very, very old civilizations, and it has its own well-developed architectural style and the systems. And when we are talking about our progress, the progress could not be devoid of our past. That when we have that kind of a rich heritage, which is a part of it. So these are the three major sort of the issues which need to be sort of integrated with the modern learning system, specifically in case of architecture. Interestingly, architecture also basically is a mirror of the civilization.
Yes.
So we need that kind of a sort of a setup which needs to be put up.
Absolutely, sir. But how challenging it could be, given the fact that when you bring in something new as well, or you bring in some changes also, when you break from the tradition as well, or anything, that is required to do, but there could be roadblocks, in terms of the policies. There could be policy challenges, or what could be the biggest regulatory challenges as far as any architect is concerned?
See, but there are two areas which we have to look at. Presently, architectural services, as you call it, are not basically restricted to architects. So that is one of the really challenging situation from the point of view of the professional architects. So it is as if, saying that those who are not doctors are practicing medicine. I mean, the matter is like that. But then, yes, when Architects Act came into existence, at that point of time, hardly few architects were there in India, and serving that kind of a large population was not possible. But today we have geared up. We have about 1,90,000 architects who are already registered with Council of Architecture. And every year we are having a strength of producing about 20,000 to 25,000 architects. This is changing the scenario. That means that we are now capable of reaching the last person in the population. So we are capable of catering, and so there is a need to relook at the services and its protection, but that is only one part of it. Another part which keeps on happening around is that we have to also gear them up, everybody, those who are practicing architecture as well as those who are the students, as you rightly pointed out, that the technology has to be integrated with the practice. So we have a digital manufacturing which is happening around, we have the AI models which are introduced, we have the virtual reality which is a part of it. Also that design also has not now confined it to architecture, is not only confined it to architecture. Because these are the creative minds which are capable of expanding themselves into various other creative activities. And so we have the multidisciplinary practices which are emerging, which are successful. So that is one. Another is like we need to be sort of capable of providing the equal sort of the services as the best of the world is providing. So we have to compete with the multinational companies. And thereby there are the need to change actually the rules and regulations also according to that. Of course, that Ministry of Commerce is also looking at it very keenly. Ministry of Education is also very, very interested to incorporate the things together. And I believe that the things would change in the days to come. Amendment to Architects Act would come. National education policy and its configuration with architecture education also would be happening.
When it comes to India, which sustainable design practice do you think makes the maximum impact?
We have good natural resources, and so we are capable of actually producing bamboo as a material in a very, very good quantum. Bamboo is quite sustainable material, but we need to also experiment with that as such and incorporate it into a practice. Another part which keeps on happening around is that we also have a mud as a good quantum available, and so we are capable of also converting that into as a building material with a maybe mud compressed blocks. We have the technologies which are possible. So that is possible for us to integrate basically our mud and our bamboo as a building material and bring it together. Along with that, we have ample of the sunlight across, and so that means that the integration of the solar systems could be very well possible. And then, but one of the major concerns happens to be, though we have good rains, retaining the water becomes a very, very serious matter, and that thereby there has to have the systems whereupon every house, every township, every neighborhood should be capable of harvesting its own rainwater. And these are the practices which need to be sort of integrated with the entire system. Along with that, of course, that we have to focus on how are we capable of recycling our waters, and how are we capable of actually converting our sludge into maybe the cakes which are capable, and the technology is available. So whereupon we are capable of digesting everything within. So it starts becoming a self-sustaining sort of exercise. Plastic also happens to be another thing. So are we capable of using a plastic or minimizing the use of plastic is one. And another part is that are we capable of also integrating plastic as a reinforcement material in certain cases to increase the strength so that we can reduce the burden of the plastics from the world. So these are the broader areas under which we have to basically look at.
And of course, it's a very interesting and very important role that architects play, generally when it comes to construction, of course, but when it comes to housing and it comes to even school infrastructure and many more such important buildings, how do you think architecture is growing as far as its role is concerned? How is its role evolving, sir? And how more of value addition can be done?
See, we have to look at architecture as a sort of a very, very important service, and it's inevitable for certain reasons. A majority of people believe that it is an aesthetical quality, but it is not only the aesthetical quality. So it is an aesthetical quality combined with a sort of a structural stability which will be coming in. And third thing is that optimization of the spaces that starts happening around. Also, architects are capable of basically providing the integration of the services in a better fashion So if we are talking about, let us say, public buildings, we are talking about hospitals, we are talking about schools, we are talking about maybe even for that matter, big commercial complexes and so on and so forth. Few things which are very, very important is that nowadays we are talking about universal accessibility. Now, it should be, building should be inclusive. Everybody and anybody, even with the sort of the special abilities, etc., also should be capable of moving. Now, you need your buildings, public buildings specifically, which actually are accessible in a lot of ways. One is capable of walking, one ramps are provided with as such, lifts are there, whereupon wheelchairs could be accommodated. A blind person also should be capable of moving with the ease. All these scenarios has to be taken care of by the architect, along with the integration of the services. Another part which starts happening around is that the buildings itself should become sustainable, meaning that by that, the material which is going to actually cause harm to the nature needs to be avoided. And so a whole lot of a new vocabulary of a material and a technology is evolving, and this needs to be incorporated into the design. Third thing which we have to look at when we talk about housing, and specifically we talk about a mass housing, then it also has to be seen that it also has an opportunity for those who are occupying it. Specifically, the lower middle class and the lower income group classes, whereupon possibly everybody from the family becomes the earning member. And if that is what it is, the house itself is not only functioning as a house. So on one side, the size of the house is small, and it also has to function in terms of also a workplace. So a lot of activities must start happening around, and the design should be versatile to accommodate such kind of the scenarios.
You already mentioned about artificial intelligence. So how really, if you could just shed some light or give us some examples of how really digital technology like AI or even 3D tools are in fact evolving architecture or bringing in changes when it comes to architecture in the country.
It's very, very interesting. So what has started happening, I keep on saying this, that it used to be a linear learning. Now it is becoming a learning of a matrix. So it is not like you are moving only in a straight direction, but you have to also see left, you have to see your right, and there are all the areas which are available. What has happened is that artificial intelligence is basically providing a lot of aspirations. And along with that, expectations are very high. So previously what used to be there is that I would be putting up the drawings as such and trying to explain that to my client. Now it is possible for me to actually take my client to that space whereupon the client is capable of feeling it. So this is very, very different kind of experience. So when you say virtual reality, whereupon a client prior to erection of the building itself, because every client is not capable of reading the drawings possibly, but he is capable of feeling the space, and when you are creating the virtual spaces which client is capable of experiencing, it's a whole lot of a difference it is going to make. This is number one. Another thing which keep on happening around is that there are a lot of things which were dependent on the expertise, so-called, and there were the chances of the errors happening around. But now with the artificial intelligence and the tools which are associated with it, I am capable of completely analyzing my building prior to its actually execution. Now this gives me a chance to optimize on the resources. This gives me a chance to optimize on the energy consumptions. This gives me a chance to actually have the palette of the materials and the technology which actually could be capable of giving the sustainability to a building. Now this is the sort of the greatest advantage whereupon a building could come virtually into existence without spending a single naya paisa on that, and you are capable of doing all sort of the simulations on the building so that it becomes a very, very perfect sort of a thing to occupy. The testing could be done actually, the virtual strength of the building could be ascertained, life cycle of the building actually could also be ascertained, and so on and so forth. This is a tremendous advantage. Technology is capable of providing me with the perfection.
Right.
Human brain is capable of providing with the creativity. So this is the amalgamation of two good things to happen. And by majority of the things are taken care of by technology. Once the design is made, then actually it is capable of getting converted into lots of its other applications, which normally I was spending a lot of time, office was spending a lot of time. Now that becomes optimized, and hence we are capable of actually reducing the design cycle itself. And the perfection would increase, which is going to create a very, very quality environment. And also we are capable of saving on a lot of resources.
Right, sir. And since our theme is the architects of modern Bharat, how can the architects preserve our culture, preserve our heritage while keeping the modern day needs in mind?
We are a growing economy, and will be coming to possibly those whatever number again 1, 2, 3, but we are there. We are the youngest sort of the population with the highest number out there, yes. Reasonably educated, and thereby we are aspiring to serve the world also as well. Yes. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We are going to be the part of that system whereupon, and as per our culture as such, we serve the elders.
Yeah.
So the young India would be serving the elder world. So this is going to happen. But along with that as such, we also need to actually gear up for that quality of the work. Now, so there are two ways, distinct ways of looking at it. Number one is that when we talk about what is going to happen in India, then we have to understand that we have a rich tradition, we have a rich culture, and also that to the extent that every gully and every nukkad, every small town also has a very, very rich heritage, which actually has become a default part of our sort of a life. But this is something which we can actually now showcase to the world. Now this is one part of it. As it happens in the Western world, it's a very small thing to be actually celebrated to such a degree, and we have so much to celebrate as such, and we are silent about it. This is no more going to be that way around. It has to be that every place needs the celebration. Our heritage needs the celebration. But when we say it needs the celebration, it means that we are not talking about, see, those structures are there, those structures are fantastic structures, and we are not going to compete with those structures. That is for sure. But at the same point of time, we are going to draw our clues from it. We are going to create possibly maybe even one of the, I was discussing with you policymakers, I said that let us celebrate it with having the tourist networks crowd. Let's design those networks. Let us design that kind of infrastructure which would be capable of, inviting the others to come and look at our culture. This is one part. Another part is that we are saying Vikasit Bharat. And anything which has to do with the development, or you say that the culture is enriched culture, could not be without architecture. Architecture is a testimony of the civilization and its progress. Meaning thereby that if our aspirations are there, whereupon we are going to achieve it, then it has to be also supported with the sort of the infrastructure, sort of the architecture which is very, very unique, which has its own flavors, and those flavors will be, from our traditions and our past. We should be capable of amalgamating that in a beautiful fashion with the modern technology, modern world, but at the same point of time, the values which need to be projected has to be essentially Indian in nature. And that is something which is a challenge. So on one side, we have to conserve our past. On the other side, we have to take the clues from our tradition and the heritage. And we should be also at the same point of time, very, very with a modern outlook. The country which is not rejecting the modernity, but it is not also living its past. That is very, very important. And that is what we have to achieve as the architects.
Absolutely, sir. So finally, before I let you go, what is your vision for modern Bharat in architecture for the next 10 years?
I would like to see that every small town also should be served by the architects. I want to see that the development is a very, very well coordinated development.
Right.
So that we are not leaving the things to the chance. I would like to see that the climate change is happening around, but at the same point of time, we should have the systems. I'm talking about architecture basically. the systems which are basically designed in such a fashion that the life loss is not going to be there. So that protection needs to be there. So maybe if we are talking about those regions which are prone to maybe earthquakes, prone to maybe flooding, etc., then essentially there has to have the rules and the regulations which are saying that no. So I want to design the buildings which actually will be for the safety of the mankind, for the human beings. So the safety should come. So that essentially means that the palette of the technology and the material which has to be used in that part has to be life-saving one.
Right.
So this is one part. Another thing which has to happen is that, as I said, that we have to gear up to serve the world. And that essentially means that the technological interface with with all the branches of education, with yes, but with architecture specifically has to be there. And it means that one of the challenges which we have is to actually put up the technology into all the institutions across. So that learning happens. We also have to maybe possibly train our architects once again, so that they are capable of also adopting the new techniques and the new requirements and new aspirations. And all the buildings which are going to come need to look at basically saying that there has to be the safety of the kids. It has to be the smart building, because elderly people also should be capable of getting the sort of the help which has to be provided with. Those who are ill as such should be capable of getting the medical help as fast as possible. And so that means that smartness has to be inculcated into the entire system. We also have to produce our own energy in our buildings, maybe or at a community level. And so the architecture should be capable of responding to that. Water conservation and other scenarios also need to be looked at. All this needs to be integrated. Possibly the building should become more and more green. They should also vertically, even if they are growing as such, also that we should be talking about the verticality of the greenery, which is happening around. The technology is available, and we have to look at it in a very careful fashion. And of course, I believe that for India, our space programs are such that we also, as architects, have to start thinking in terms of are we going to be capable of doing something on maybe Mars? And believe me, it requires a very different kind of expertise, and again, it boils down to material and technology and a lot of things. So there has to have a multidisciplinary approach,
right,
in terms of integrating the human habitat, the built spaces, and it is no more a job of say that okay, I go and I just construct. No, possible. But now you have to be very careful. You have to assess your buildings prior to its execution as to whether it is capable of satisfying our national needs or not.
Right. Well, that's, of course, very interesting and very much inspiring. Professor Purohit, it's a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for joining us here on
Thank you very
Leadership
much.
Summit. Thank you so much, sir.